parents like me who come from a non-financial background go about financial planning?
Whole world of finance is a little bit of a horror story for a lot of people, if I may call it that, because of
The first thing that we do at the start of the year is that we start setting goals.
if you don't have a goal, you running a race without a finish line in sight.
From a parenting perspective, what I want to understand is what that goal should look like for
Right.
parents like us who
Right.
have children who are very young.
If you're going to plan for literally,
Because you mentioned Gen Z, I
yeah,
think this is something to take note that
Yeah.
when they are having these conversations of finding a partner and a family together,
a lot of the iPhones are bought on EMIs to, suddenly managing a family and talking about that stuff. And
having a concrete goal for a couple who has a baby now, like new parents.
I think financial compatibility is also one of the
What are some of those immediate expenses that may come their way as soon as the child is born, which
the expense counter starts literally the day the child is born. Now there are like complete packages, like a marriage package. You've got pregnancy packages where they handle everything on pre, during and post hospitalization.
as part of child care in terms
Right.
of diapers, in terms of vaccination, in terms of support system, which could be a nanny.
The first 3 months are about burping the child correctly. Cut back to when we were kids. We had few options, or rather our parents chose the nearest possible school.
That's true.
Schools within a metro. You're looking system like CBSE or ICSE or state board. For the pre-primary, it would be like a lakh
Per annum.
per annum, right?
There is something different called as the education inflation,
The education inflation.
which is 10 to 12%, almost double that
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
inflation.
If you're looking at new age schools, that 30 lakh figure could be easily 50 lakh.
50 lakhs.
Yes.
And if there are two children, it's going to be double. So if
Double.
it's 2 for one,
Yeah.
it will be 4 crores for 2 children.
Exactly. That's the exact point why financial planning is linked to the family planning, right?
Hi, my name is Shruti. I'm a working mother of a 6-year-old child. I consider myself a very curious and a passionate parent who is always looking for means to enrich the life of our family. I also admit that I find peace in being able to take control of things, although not everything can be controlled. However, I do believe that taking small proactive steps in the right direction can go a long way in ensuring the well-being of our family. Now, coming from a healthcare background, I freeze at the sound of financial jargons like debt, equity, SIP, investments, etc. But I do know that befriending them is the best way to ensure the financial security of our family. Now, this podcast is for everyone, and especially for millennial parents like me who are trying to navigate life and parenting. So today's podcast will focus on financial planning for parents like me. My guest today is Mr. Vishwanath Hariharan. Vishy, as he's called, has graduated from NIT Trichy and has completed MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. Vishy is a gentle dad, an investor, a reader, a blogger, and on weekends he's also the personal trampoline to our 6-year-old daughter. Welcome, Vishy.
Hey, hi. Thanks for the very kind introduction, Shruti. And it's good to be on the show.
Thank you, Vishy, for being my first guest. So let's begin.
Sure.
So, being a financial expert that you are and a family man that you are, please explain how parents like me who come from a non-financial background go about financial planning.
Yeah. So like you mentioned in the introduction, right? The whole world of finance or investing, or as you would call it, right? Financial planning or personal finance is a little bit of a horror story for a lot of people, if I may call it that, because of some very popular misconceptions and myths, right? A lot of people feel that it's too technical for them to get into.
Right.
Maybe a lot of people feel that it involves a lot of research, a lot of tools, which is out of bounds for them. And thirdly, people feel that it involves a lot of money, right?
Yes.
Now, all of these three things obviously are not true. Otherwise, the um, investing world would have just a few handful of people who would have just been there making money and would have been out of bound for a lot of other people. But I would just focus on the personal finance part of it to start off with, right?
Right.
Because people interchangeably use the words personal finance and investing thinking that both are the same thing. But in very real terms, investing is just a subset of personal finance and planning, right? Financial planning as a concept covers a lot of other things. Think of it like concentric circles, right? Where you have things like you have your funds, you have your
Yeah.
cash, you have different other asset classes. By the time you reach equity as an instrument, you would have covered a lot of many steps which would have secured your future in the real world sense, right? And from that aspect, what I feel is anything in life that we do should be goal based, right? There has to
Yeah.
be a motive behind that. Think of it like a marathon.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have a goal and you keep on, say, working, right, in your everyday life, it's like you running a race without a finish line in place, which is not a very ideal case scenario, right? Now, in the same way, everything that we do in life has a certain motive behind it. Just that at various points in time, you will have these milestones, different goals or different success factors that you will have to achieve by the time
Exactly.
you feel that you have made it big. And from that aspect, I think this is something which applies to both parents and non-parent, right? People who are starting off with.
No,
Right.
I fully agree to that. I
Right.
think even in our corporate jobs, the first thing that we do at the start of the year or even the last quarter of the
Sure.
previous year is that we start setting goals.
Right.
Now, from a parenting perspective, what I want to understand is what that goal should look like for
Right.
parents like us who
Right.
have children who are very young.
Right.
How should we approach the goal making
Sure.
part of it?
Yeah, I think the okay. So let me just take a very high level view of this and then drill down to parents,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Now, financial planning as a topic is where you are planning for a goal which is many years or days in advance, right?
Exactly.
So, if you're going to plan for, say, a kid or something, that will have to start much earlier, right? Literally, the time when you plan to get hitched. Now, let me just draw an analogy over here with cricket, right, which is a
Yeah.
loved sport in the country. Now, suppose the opposition team has gone into bat and they scored like 300 runs in 50 overs, right? You have to chase that down in 50 overs. Now, you're not going to go at the same pace throughout the 50 overs or whenever you want to achieve the target. You will obviously, there'll be phases in the match where you will be taking those risks. There'll be phases where you will tone down a little bit because you will have to balance run rate with stability. You are mindful that you do not lose wickets.
True.
You are trying to balance basically risk and reward, right? And
True.
returns and a combination of caution and aggression, and that's how you reach that goal. Similarly, in our lives, right, there are phases. Just divide that into different buckets. Say, for example, a boy or girl who's finished their graduation, post graduation,
Right.
and they are entering the workforce. Now, they have,
So
yeah,
Gen Z basically, right?
exactly,
Gen
like
Z.
you may
You're
call
talking
it
to,
Gen
yes.
Z. And when they are at that age, they've got a high, they are high on energy, they are high on, they have a lot of time,
Yes.
they've got a huge runway, right? And when I say time, they've got like many number of years before they make it big. And so that's a very ideal case scenario for them to go big, right? In terms of hustle,
Yeah.
doing multiple tasks, getting into high growth sectors,
Exactly.
roles. without worrying too much about stability of income and so on, because they don't have that many liabilities or responsibility of a family, right? So that and that's true till the time, say, you reach like a age of around, say, 30s and so on, when you're planning to get married. Once you're married and you've got a family to support, that's when the real drill starts, right? In terms
Yeah.
of trying to balance the time with the family, shoulder family responsibilities, and at
Exactly.
the same time focus on your work, right? Because you always have to keep that one end up in terms of providing for the family, at the same time also ensure that uh, there is time at the end of the day and so on. So there's that balance you have to strike. And then once you're done with those responsibilities as a parent and so on, towards the twilight stages of the career, I think then your priority completely changes. Yeah.
That's a very good
Yeah.
perspective. I think as parents, I think of it. I didn't think of financial planning was never a key aspect of my
Right.
thought process prior to marriage, and I think I was more alerted about it after
Right.
a child came into our life, because, as you said, there are
Sure.
more responsibilities and there are more dependents in our life.
Right.
So it's good to understand actually when financial planning begins. In fact, because you mentioned Gen Z, I
Yeah.
think this is something to take note
Yeah.
that when they are having these conversations of finding a partner and a family together,
Right.
financial planning essentially is a part of those conversations. So it starts really at that point
Yeah.
before you get married. Now, okay, so a couple who's married and doesn't yet have a child, they
Right.
have different set of goals, right? So
Correct.
coming to the topic of having a concrete goal,
Yes.
what will a goal look like for a parent, for a couple who has a baby now, like new parents?
Yeah. I mean, okay. On a side note, I think when you're talking about Gen Z, right? Like, it's a very big shift for
Yeah.
that crowd, where a lot of the iPhones are bought on EMIs to suddenly managing a family and talking about that stuff and finances and all that.
Fully agree.
Anyway, that was on a lighter note. But the whole journey of financial planning should ideally begin the time, as I said, you're getting hitched or married to your partner, because apart from all the other compatibilities that, say, you're looking for in your spouse, I think financial compatibility is also one of the
Yes.
very necessary and essential criteria that should be there, because I mean, this is something that is ironically one of the crucial aspects of a family or a couple, but which gets discussed the least, right? During an important event
Yes.
like a marriage, right? Where you're going to sort of
It's
spend the rest of your
sensitive,
life.
right? Maybe it's sensitive,
Yeah, I mean,
but they should.
in the Indian context, yes, it's a very bit sensitive. You don't know when to bring it up.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you feel like, there's a lot of people who would, take it the wrong way and so on. But then
True, but it's changing.
it's changing. I would believe it's changing for the good, where people are realizing that it's a combined goal, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
and also just compare it with the generation before us, right? Our parents, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much followed a pattern.
Yes.
There was the man of the house who would work many years, possibly in the same organization, maybe at max a couple of organizations for
Yes.
30, 35 years throughout. And his job was just to work, to put bread on the table,
Yeah.
ensure that there was enough money to educate the children,
Right.
run the house,
Take care of
take care of
parents.
take care of the parents in many cases when they would live together, while the lady of the house would spend maximum time with the children, bring them up. The whole responsibility of instilling values was with the lady, because
Correct.
and in that sense, the whole roles and responsibilities part of it was all compartmentalized, right? And it was always a norm at that point in time to have like two children in a normal Indian household.
Right.
Cut to today, and you will find very few households where there are two kids, but you will also find households where both the man and the woman of the house is working, right?
True. True.
So things have changed over the past 30 years or so, and at the same time, our needs and our wants have also changed, right? Which has in a way necessitated that both of them work and there are multiple, streams of income and so on, right? Again, a generation back, something like an investment for the future or retirement planning or parenting, all of
Yeah.
these concepts were very not very familiar, I would put it that way.
Yeah.
They were there, not completely unheard of, but they were there. But only a certain portion of the population was really into it or savvy about it.
Yeah.
But
True.
this is cut to today. This is like something which is a necessity across all, right? So from that aspect, when you're looking at uh, um, planning a child,
Yes.
you will have to look at it very very much in advance, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of what is going to be from the time literally the child is born.
Correct.
What are going to be the expenses,
Yes.
right? And healthcare, education, both these are spaces where the inflation has skyrocketed. If you're looking at inflation, they are just double that of the normal inflation that the government projects, right? So,
That's
yeah.
true. That's true. No, this is a good perspective that you bring in terms of how the parenting has evolved from the time that our parents
Right.
were parenting us versus us as parents, because a lot of things have evolved because there used to be two kids. Having two kids was a
Yeah.
norm, but having and one earning parent versus now where it's common to have two working parents
Correct.
and one child.
Yeah.
So, but I think, and of course now there is Gen Z and the new parents. So, can you throw some light on what are some of those immediate expenses that may come their way as soon as the child is born, which they have not imagined, and how do they look at the whole budgeting scene as new parents?
So, like I said, right, the expense counter starts literally the day the child is born. I
Right.
mean, even before, like when the lady is going through the motions and ensuring that the child is safe inside.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to start off from the day zero or day one, right? Where hospitalization and delivery charges, if you look at it, right? I mean,
Yes.
now there are like complete packages, like a marriage package. You've got pregnancy packages where they handle
Yeah.
everything on pre, during, and post hospitalization.
Yeah. Yeah.
As well as the rooms, rents, the associated ancillary services that come up with uh, the childbirth. So you could peg that figure at anywhere around 2 lakh rupees, right? I mean, depending on whether what kind of a
City, hospital.
hospital,
True.
and what kind of a procedure is involved in that, right?
Right.
It's a normal C-section and so on. So
Exactly.
without getting into the details of it. But after that, then you come to the whole plethora of vaccinations that come as part of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that could easily add up to like a lakh.
Yes.
Over the course of the 12 to 18 months from the day the child is born,
Exactly.
right? And that list is only going to increase,
Growing.
and it's going to count and increase over the next few years. And then there are a list of other things that will get added to your needs because of the baby, right? You
Yes.
have your regular household expenses which run, but now that the baby is added, you've got things like diapers coming in,
Yes.
which
True.
is one of the essentials these days. Maybe a premium about 30 years back when we were
Yeah. Kids.
kids, but so that's something you need to account for. And a lot of the other things, right, like some of the support system that you would need
Yes. Yes.
in terms of having like a nanny.
Yes.
And this is irrespective of whether the lady of the house is working or not, right?
Yes.
Because that would unlock a lot of time for the mother, right? In terms of recovering from the hospitalization, the postpartum. I think that's something which people are now realizing as a part of the general well-being of the mother and for the whole couple themselves, right? Which was
Yeah.
not taken seriously like many years back.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. And I think when we became parents, we had never factored in the expenses that will come along as a part of the support system.
Right.
And if you look at the rates of the daycare now,
Yeah.
depending on the area and city, they vary widely. But then when I was going back to work after my maternity,
Right.
at that point, I did not want to compromise on a daycare because they come with facilities like CCTV footage. And even when it comes to, you mentioned vaccination, and even within vaccination, we know that there are options. We rely heavily on our pediatricians, and we know that some of these vaccines are very expensive. So I do agree that, and I think as a first time parent, they need to account for this new expense that comes as part of child care in terms
Right.
of diapers, in terms of vaccination, in terms of support system, which could be a nanny or it could be a good daycare. But Rishi, it would be nice to hear from you some numbers,
Yeah.
you know.
So just like I stressed on the goal part to start off with, right? I mean, there are goals and success criteria at every stage. On a lighter note, like the first 3 months are about burping the child correctly. So, like,
Yes.
I mean, that is like one achievement that every parent or couple is, wanting to do at that stage in life.
Yes.
And let's put numbers to it, right? Say, for example, you've been through the tough times of the first 18 months or so.
Yeah.
Tough and very sweet times also, actually.
True. Because, yes.
Yeah, that's a good memory to have. Now, once you're through that period, then you get into that phase where the child is just starting to learn a few things, starting to say their first words. And at that point in time, you as a parent would want to build on that um, by ensuring that they are exposed to other kids, social mingling, better speech development, and so on, right?
Yes.
And that's where the daycare or the play school comes in.
Yeah.
Now, you take whichever city you are in, you're living in, and whichever locality you're part of, right? There'll always be the neighborhood daycare, and then those which are like very, very popular chains and so
Brands,
on.
yes.
Brands, right? Now, just like schools, they would have a certain structure, and based on the customizations,
Yes.
based on number of hours, and whether they are giving food to the child across breakfast, lunch,
Yeah.
and snacks. I would peg the rates at say around anywhere between 12 to 15,000, right? Which is essentially like 1.5 to 2 lakhs per annum. So now that's about 12 to 15,000 per month for the kid,
Yeah.
right? Now suppose I'm just putting numbers.
Yeah.
So if for the regular expenses of you and your family, right, you're spending right 25,000, 30,000 a month,
Yes.
and for the child essentials it's around 10,000, and then you've got the daycare of around 12, 15,000.
Yeah.
That's easily about 50,000, right,
Yes.
per month, and then a lot of the other things, depending on whichever location you're staying in, whether it's in your own city or you rented something, all put together, right, you're looking at a figure of around 70,000 odd, maybe
Oh.
higher also per month.
Per month.
Right.
And this includes the support system.
This would include support system. I would just peg it at a range of around 70 to like 80,000
Okay.
per month as an outgo.
Okay.
When you are at that stage, right?
When the child.
Yes, when the child is like
It's pre kindergarten.
you can say pre kindergarten or pre primary,
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
whichever terminology you want to use. So that's basically the age between 2 years to what, 5 years, 4 years, yeah,
4, because I think, let's say they join kindergarten at
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the age that's going to be your outgo, right?
Yeah.
So there is this rule called the 35-35-30 rule, or some people generally put it as the 30-30-40 rule.
30-30-40.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically where you're ensuring that 35% of your take home or income is there to satisfy your essential needs,
Needs.
right?
Okay.
35 goes for your discretionary spending, your wants, right? And the rest of it is something that you save, right?
Okay.
And then we come to the investment part later on, out of the
Okay.
savings. And I'll come to the 35 plus 35 equation by after we do this number crunching for all the different phases
Phases of the child.
of the child, right? So this is basically the phase that we have spoken about till the
Yeah.
child goes to kindergarten. Now,
Okay.
the phase on when the child is now started going to school, right?
Yeah.
Kindergarten. Now that's a whole big scenario, right? Where again, cut back to when we were kids, we had few options, or rather, our parents chose the nearest possible school.
That's true.
That was just the
That
only
was the
barometer.
single most criteria.
That was the single most criteria and the barometer for which school the child
Yeah.
should go to. Now, and then in those cases, there wasn't this whole fad of these plethora of options of international
Yeah.
IB, Cambridge, CBSE, ICSE, State Board, and so on. So you basically went to whichever was the nearest school within a
Yes.
radius of 2 to 3 kilometers. That's it, full stop.
True.
Now you're spoiled for options, right, as a parent. Now there are voices, opinions saying this is better than that, and so on. And if I were to look at the schools within a metro, right, you're looking typically at, say, for a tried and tested system like CBSE or ICSE or State Board.
Right.
Generally, for the pre-primary, it would be like 1 lakh or so, maybe just going up to 2 lakh in some cases.
2 lakh per
Yeah,
annum.
per
right?
annum, right? And you basically have all of this again, ancillary costs like bus and
Yeah.
food
yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, once that is done, and so that's about 2 lakhs per annum, and which will replace the daycare costs, kind of. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So let's say kindergarten is nursery, PP1 and PP2.
Right.
So they have to have 1 to 2 lakhs per annum.
Yes.
For a period of 3 years. So that's between 3 to 6 lakhs.
Correct.
Just for pre-primary in a
Yes.
city like Hyderabad.
Yes, in a city like Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Right. Now, once that phase is done, then becomes the real drill, not for the child but for the parent, right?
True.
Because then you have rates anywhere between 2 to 4 lakhs, right, for children in that age group for first grade.
Yes.
And the worst part is, I've seen that that's not a very healthy trend. Education costs increasing at the same rate as healthcare cost also, right? Double the rate of the average inflation, which government projects as 6 to 7%.
Right.
You could expect anything between 10 to 12%, right? So the 3 would become 3.5, 4, and so on. And if you just extrapolate the child's journey as well as the expense of the parent, you would anywhere estimate that total cumulative spend to be around 30 lakhs.
30 lakhs?
By very conservative estimate.
For a CBSE school,
Yes,
let's say in a city like Hyderabad.
Like Hyderabad, very.
No, I think it's a very interesting point there, because even I have always gone with the standard inflation declared, which is like 6 to 7%. But it's interesting to know that there is something different called as the education inflation.
The education inflation.
Which is
Absolutely.
which is 10 to 12%, almost double that of the inflation.
Like people are looking at a cap or regulations to sort of mitigate the very exorbitant increase in the fees, but that's still some years in the making. We are still a far way away from that, but this is how the reality is. And this is just the very traditional kind of schools that we are looking at, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're looking at more new age schools, right? IB, Cambridge, and so on.
Right.
That 30 lakh figure could be easily 50 lakhs.
50 lakhs.
Yes.
So 50 lakhs for grade 1 to grade 10
Yeah.
for a Cambridge or a IB curriculum.
Yes.
So so essentially you are giving us a goal that a parent must have in
Right.
terms of numbers.
Right.
So if it is CBSE, it may cost up to 35 lakhs for grade 1 to 10, and if
Right.
it is Cambridge or IB,
Hmm.
it is about 50 lakhs for grade 1 to grade 10.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And see, I mean, there are many different schools of thought. So one is where you as a parent say that, this is the tried and tested technique. I know
Yeah.
how this system functions. I know what my child's journey trajectory will be pretty much. Say from grade 1 to grade 10.
Yeah.
I know what is going to be the syllabus.
Yeah.
Which points are going to be those where my child will face difficulty in learning, and hence I'll have to pitch in.
Okay.
I know that this is going to pretty much help my child in the competitive exams and the rigor which comes with it.
Right.
Whereas there's the other school of thought which says I will not emphasize too much on the education part of it.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be very unhealthy competition that my child should be exposed to. I am looking at a more whole-round, wholesome development of the child
Yeah.
across sports, studies, extracurricular activities, public speaking,
Yeah.
all of the interpersonal skills,
True.
social skills, and so on. So for me, the overall development is more important for me, and it takes precedence over them appearing for competitive exams like IIT, JEE, or
So
CAT
it's-
or
yeah.
GMAT and so on, right? So these are two different schools of thought, not necessarily that one is better than the other. And that's where you as a parent should be able to be in a position to choose,
Right.
right?
So, no, this is good, and thanks for sharing the numbers, because I think there are more and more parents choosing a Cambridge or an international board versus a more traditional CBSE and ICSE, and for them, I think it's going to be an eye opener, because there is a lot of conversation happening around which is the very better curriculum, but I think there should also be a conversation like this where somebody is putting out the numbers for them, and then they
Yeah.
are able to take a more informed decision and make the
Correct.
right choice.
So it's like you going to a gym and telling the instructor, suggest me the best exercise. But then the
Right.
instructor has to ask you, what is your aim? Do you want to reduce your
Exactly.
belly? Do you want to build muscles? Do you want to burn calories? Or what do you want to do? Based on that, I can suggest which is the best exercise. Likewise, it boils down to the parent ki what they are looking for.
Exactly.
Are they looking at somewhere which is like very academically inclined for your child, or where you're saying that no, I will want to undervise a little bit on that and then expose the child to many different
to
things.
others. So it's
Right.
no, that's a good.
And then you're obviously it should also be conducive to the parent's wallet also, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, the worst case is where the parent looks at what school my child goes to, comparing that against what school that my neighbor's child is going to, and then
The peer
using
pressure.
that, projecting that as a status symbol, and trying to flash that as like we would do with a car or a house or any of that, saying this is the school to which my child belongs to. Look where I am at. I mean, that's the worst possible thing that
Yeah.
you could do.
Yeah.
For you, it should be somewhere where you are able to provide for your child. At the same
Correct.
time, you know that this is what your child needs.
True. No,
Right.
thanks. This is very interesting, and I think now our parents will be aware of the numbers that they
Yeah.
are looking for when they are applying the 30-30-40 budgeting
I mean,
principle.
it's not something which is set in stone. It could be 35, 35, 30 or whatever. I
Okay,
mean.
okay.
Yeah.
And I think that I also feel that we should have a podcast dedicated to the schools to choose
Yes.
and the curriculum, and I think that can be a topic in itself. But I think we can move ahead a little bit and come to the next milestone. So we have taken a milestone-based approach in setting our goals. You
Right.
gave us numbers for when the child is a baby versus pre-primary, the schooling.
Yeah.
And I think now comes the next very big
Yes.
milestone, which is graduation and post-graduation.
Correct. So again, graduation, it's like jumping from one league to another, right? And the
Right.
child goes from say 10th or 12th to graduation. Now, it could be based on the streams available, or the child's or the kid's choices of what education or stream that they would want to pursue. I would actually peg that figure of spend, give it a very long range, right? Based on whether the child is inclined towards
Stream,
engineering,
yeah.
medicine, law, commerce, arts
True.
based fields, and so on. That could anyway be between say 40 to 60 lakhs, right?
For graduation,
For
4 years
graduation,
of
3 or 4
graduation.
years of graduation.
Okay.
And then post that, right? And this is because the competitive nature of the world around us,
True.
where people would actually be downgrading themselves if they just stick to the graduation part. You will
Exactly.
need to specialize, and you would need to reach a certain level of expertise at your educational stage itself, right? And
True.
hence that mandates that you go for a postgrad kind of a course, which would then be an additional amount of the same 40 to 60 lakhs,
40 to 60.
Right.
Okay.
right?
So that's so
So-
you're this is a goal.
Yeah.
So for graduation, let's say it's 40 to 60
Right.
plus another 40 to 60 for post graduation.
Yeah.
So this is considering the child is about 6 or 7 years now and will need this money
Right.
10 years from now when
Yeah.
they reach that stage.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Now, I mean, if I were to put together all of these expenses, right, the 30 lakhs spent in school, say 50 lakhs in graduation, another
Yeah.
15 postgrad, 50, 1 CR, and this about 30, 1.3, and then add up the expenses that the parents would have spent from the time the child was born to
Yeah.
till
Yeah.
the age of 6. I would just round it off to like 2 CR, right?
Hmm.
1.5 to 2 CR. Now
2
that looks
CR.
very ginormous, but the good part is you have time on your hands.
True.
Once you have estimated that this is going to be the expense trajectory, while this is going to be my child's
True.
education trajectory, you've got that good 10 or 12 years of runway,
Yeah.
right? For you to maneuver around, save enough
Right.
while taking care of your basic needs and your discretionary needs, grow your money, be in a position where you can fund your child's education, the same
True.
time have enough for you to also live a life of abundance.
True,
So
true,
that's-
true. And if there are 2 children, it's going to be double. So if
Double.
it's 2 for 1,
Yeah.
it will be 4 crores for 2 children.
Exactly. So actually, that's the exact point why the financial planning is linked to the family planning, right?
True.
Where the compatibility should be there on multiple levels for the
Yeah.
couple to plan appropriately, right?
Right. So there are no shocks
yeah.
and surprises
Right.
along the way.
Correct.
True.
That they say in Hindi, right? जितना चद्दर है उतना ही पैर फैलाना चाहिए.
True, true.
That's
true, true.
very much appropriate for this situation also, right?
Yeah, no, true. And I think this 2 crores is what we have spoken so far.
Right.
Is only about the child, their education, and providing them an atmosphere optimum for them to bloom, right?
Right.
But we have other expenses, like everyone aspires to have, let's say, a car, a house. How do we, because another aim of this podcast is also to be able to fulfill these other goals of life,
Okay.
right?
Again, my thing about financial planning is not to tell people do not spend or spend a miserable life. My whole point is that spend, but ensure that you know where you're spending, and wherever possible, block the leakages, right? And ensure that there is proper accountability for wherever the money is going, and ensuring that it is going for the rightful purposes.
Right.
Especially in those days where you are starting off in your wealth creation journey, right?
Yeah, yeah.
to live a good life, but maybe not a very extravagant life, which is way beyond your means.
True, true.
Living a good life, but not a mediocre life by any chance.
Yeah,
Right? So that's the whole starting point of where we come from. Now, again, within expenses, right, like discretionary spending and basic spending, there's also deferrable and non-deferrable.
Okay.
This is
What
basically
it?
just my manufacturing of categories of spending.
Okay.
Now, suppose you've got, say, 7 lakhs, right? And you do not have access to any more funds, and you just have to play around with that money.
Okay.
Now, your child is going to go to school, and you would need money for that, or say graduation, basically.
Okay. Okay.
But you also want to buy a car.
True.
Now, you're not going to prioritize buying a car and just then telling your child, you know what, you take 1 year skip, you do your graduation after the year. That's not done, right?
Right. Right.
So
it can't be postponed.
Cannot be postponed. Whereas, like you making a down payment for a house or buying that brand new car can wait for some time, right? So, and this is where a lot of people actually go wrong. I'm not saying people like, deferred their child's education. I have not come across some circumstances, but a lot of people try to accommodate both of this and then go running to the bank.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, in which case the EMI becomes a part and parcel of your life, and you
new
go through the whole
liability.
rigmarole, and the whole circus starts all over again.
No, that's a good point. I mean, when we are putting our goals together,
Right.
So there is an additional awareness. There are certain goals which are deferable, like
Right.
let's say a car, and there are
Right.
certain goals which are not deferable.
Right.
The education, the child has to go into graduation at that age, which is let's
Sure.
say 17. So what I also want to know is, now I think we've spoken about education, parenting, the child, we have secured, let's say,
Right.
the amounts for graduation and post-graduation.
Right.
But what I also want to touch upon is investment, right? So far you gave
Okay.
us goals, but
Right.
also tell us how to achieve those goals through the different investment
This is
means.
probably the much talked about and the much less executed subject, right? Investment, where
Yeah.
you go to these social gatherings or events and people are like, oh, you're into investment, huh? कौन सा नया म्यूचुअल फंड
हाँ,
लूँ मैं, कौन सा
हाँ.
स्टॉक लूँ मैं,
True.
which is the flavor of the season and so on. So I'm like, I tell people, do you have an emergency fund or not? And that's where people get stumped. Like a lot of people, and I would say anecdotally about 90% of the people do not know the concept of an emergency fund. And even before that, just like I said, you need to do your budgeting actively, right?
Right.
And what is budgeting? Budgeting is how much you're getting inside and how much is going out,
Right.
right? What you're earning as an income
Right.
through multiple sources, salary and all of the other streams of income, and then how much is going out, right? Like I
Yeah.
mentioned, groceries, your child's needs, education needs of the child,
Yeah.
the support system, maid, nanny, cook,
Correct.
all of those, which keeps you running around the clock without a stumbling block in place.
Yeah.
And maybe things like rent if you're living in a rented house, right? So all of this are those which have to be budgeted, right? Especially the ones which are like high expense items on your feet.
Okay.
Once you've done that, it becomes a habit for many months together. You know pretty much how much you
You're
are spending every year,
per month,
per
per
month,
year.
per year, and so
Yeah.
on. And you have all the ancillary things like insurance, premium payments,
Everything
if you own a
that
car,
goes into
everything,
all the outflows.
all
basically.
outflows. Now that will give you a basic sense of where you stand in that 35, 30 kind of equation. Once that is done, you come to the next part of the plan where you are covering for the downside risks. So
The uncertainties.
the uncertainties of
Yeah.
risk is uncertainty. That in your wealth creation journey, right, every penny saved is a penny earned.
True.
Right? Or every rupee saved is a rupee earned.
True.
Now there are different ways and means by which that rupee could be spent, could be spending or could be spent from your pocket without you wanting it to be spent.
Right.
And that's where unpredictabilities or uncertainties come in as risks in your life. Think about all the possible risks you, as a working parent, or you are just as a normal parent, could be exposed to, right? For me, if I'm working, there could be, God forbid, a job loss, a layoff, right? Like you hear about it across newspapers, and
Yeah.
different
It's a
media,
common
right? Which
news
is now
every other
becoming very
day.
common, which
Yeah,
was not
yeah.
very common 20 years back.
Right.
Earlier, it was just the multinational companies in the Western world who would do it. Now it's becoming very familiar in the Indian context also.
Yeah, in fact, you said when we started off that our parents spent their entire
Entire
career
life.
in one organization
Correct.
or maybe two.
Yes.
But now,
Now with the advent of new technologies in place, the mantra now is to do maximum with minimum, right? Now that puts a big question mark on the whole work life of the individual itself, right? Now the 60 is no longer that number where you retire. There could be chances where you'll be retiring much earlier.
right.
Now, or there could be cases where you might not work in the same organization for too long.
Right.
Think about the scenario where people get laid off. Do you have enough to cover for the foreseeable future if tomorrow you try to log in into your computer in the office and says access denied, right? And the company
It's a
says sorry,
nightmare.
आपकी यात्रा ही इधर तक ही थी, right? Now that's a horrible situation to be in if you again are a parent to a child or
Small
many
child.
children, right?
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
have
yeah.
you may be the
Responsibilities.
sole breadwinner for your family.
Yes.
Very scary situation. The idea over there is to have an emergency fund.
And how do we arrive at that number?
Commonly followed thumb rule is 6 into your monthly expenses.
Okay.
And monthly expenses you
Comes
have already
from the budgeting that we
budgeted.
did. Okay.
Right? In many cases, I would recommend that 6 could be anywhere between 6 to 12, right? Especially if there are more than one child,
Right.
right?
Yes.
The rationale behind that 6 months is that you are giving yourself 6 months to look
Find
out,
another.
which is which should be sufficient, right? So that's the concept of an emergency fund.
Okay.
And unfortunately, a lot of people are bereft of that knowledge of having an emergency fund. I would say that you would keep the emergency fund ideally in, say, like a FD.
Okay.
Right? People would counter argue that FD का क्या है 6.5% देता है.
Correct.
I'm like that money is not there to earn you a enormous rate of return like an investment instrument would. That
Yeah.
is there for you, it to protect you, so that you don't touch the other investment instruments, right?
So what
Yeah.
you're saying is don't look at emergency fund as a means of investment. We have not even gotten there.
We've not even gotten there.
We have
Yeah.
we still have to cover this prerequisites,
Exactly.
secure a lot of aspects before
Yes.
we go to investment.
Right.
And it's 6 into the time, 6 into your
Monthly expenses, not the monthly income. Monthly expenses.
monthly expenses,
Right.
or 12 if there are more family members.
More family members.
And
yeah.
you have to store it in a way that there is immediate access.
Yes.
God forbid if
Yeah,
there is
I mean,
a job loss.
you don't want to put it in a fund and suppose the unfortunate incident happens in your life and you're trying to redeem those funds by selling it off, and then you're selling it on, say, a Friday, and then the fund house
Yeah.
says that, you know what, it will take 2 to 3 working days. There's a Saturday, there's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but you're in dire need of that. I'm talking
So
about the
it should
worst
be-
case scenario
Yeah,
over here,
yeah,
that
yeah,
there's absolutely nothing in your account. But still, I mean, it
But basically,
Yes.
access is easy and it,
Keep it
can
accessible.
come easily. Okay.
keep it accessible.
Okay.
1 to 2 days max should be
Okay.
there in your account.
Okay, Vishy. So we have spoken now about emergency fund. So
Right.
what will be the next step in the financial planning journey?
Right. Okay. Like we've covered one life risk, right? Which is any impact to the employability of one parent, or in a worst case, both the parents. Like once that is taken care of, the second is basically the healthcare expenses, right? Which we've already spoken about in the context of the delivery of the child and childcare earlier. This is again an anecdotal fact. that about 90% of the Indian households are like just one hospitalization away from bankruptcy, right? Just one hospitalization which could wipe out the entire savings that you've got,
Of the
or
family.
rather anything that you would put away as investments
Right.
could just finish off and become zero at within a few days. Now that brings in the importance of healthcare insurance or medical insurance as we call it.
Right.
And India as a country is very underinsured compared to a lot of the
Okay.
economies, both developed as well as developing, right? And again, we do not have that same healthcare infrastructure or systems that a lot of the other countries have,
Right.
where probably you would go to a public medical institution and get yourself treated with the reasonable quality of healthcare services. Whereas in India, we are like very over biased on
Private setups.
hospitals or diagnostic centers and whatever you call it. And the healthcare costs are just going to increase from here on at the healthcare rate of inflation, just like the educational rate of inflation, or double that of the actual inflation, overall inflation in India, right? And given that scenario, it is essential to have a medical insurance, right? Um, Now there are people who will come back to you and me and say, "Oh, you know what? I work in a corporate. I already have medical insurance,
That's
which
what I
covers
was
me,
thinking. Yeah.
my dependents, and
Yeah.
all that. I'm sorted for life." But take a look at what is your insurance coverage value. What is it? Is it 10 lakhs?
Not
Is-
even that much.
Think whether 10 lakhs is sufficient for the four of you, or maybe a top up of 2 lakhs to cover your parents, right? Is that something which is
Sufficient.
sufficient for you? My answer for that would be a straight no, right? Given the factors I've just explained to you
Yeah.
in terms of the quantum and the costs involved in this, right? At the same time, go back to the earlier scenario, right? In case of, say, a job loss, or where you're switching, or you're going to a startup,
Yeah.
right?
Worst combination of things to happen.
You may not have those employee friendly policies that a normal corporate would have in terms of medical insurance for an employee, right?
Yeah.
In which case, once you've resigned from, say, a corporate, you will be left without any policy, and that is why you need to have something in addition to what the company gives you, right?
Okay. Okay.
I would recommend having, say, for a family of 3 or 4, to have at least 20 lakhs as a
Coverage.
coverage, right? And I mean, if you look at the premiums that a person would pay, say for a 10 lakh compared to a 20 lakh, the increase in the premium is not too much, right? And along with that, if you've not availed the insurance for any treatment, you get those no claim bonuses, right? Wherein either the bonus, the premium payment is less, or for that same premium you get a much higher addition to whatever you already had,
Right.
right? So that's on the medical insurance part. Linked to that or adjacent to that is the life incident part, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is something which is a very sensitive topic in many homes, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not there, कल को मैं नहीं रहूँगा तो क्या होगा? Even in the ads for life insurance, the man of the house tells the people in the house, कल को मैं नहीं रहूँगा. तो the wife tells the man, अरे शुभ शुभ बोलो.
Exactly.
But then that is a possibility. Yeah? Death is an eventuality. It's something which will happen. It's real. It's one of the sure things in life, right?
True. True.
The only thing that matters in a financial planning perspective is that if that happens much too early, right, for a person who's earning for the family, you need to be covered for that, right? So, life insurance is an absolute necessity. Again, over there, there are different plans which are available in the market.
Right.
Term plans, endowment plans. I generally recommend people to go for the term plan,
Okay.
right? For an amount of life coverage which is like 4 times, between 3 to 4 times of what they are earning as an annual income,
Okay.
right? If it's like
Okay.
50 lakhs or 60 lakhs, basically somewhere between 2 to 3 crores, right? If in the unfortunate event happens to the person, the family is able to
Yeah.
get that amount, right?
True, true, true.
Right.
So that means before we get to the investment part, people have to get straight their budgeting, emergency fund, health insurance, and life insurance.
Life insurance.
And once they have taken care of all of these topics,
Right.
then they would go to the investment part of the financial planning. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So how do we go about the investments now?
Correct. Now, since you've figured out how to maneuver through the downsides in your life and all those speed breakers are taken care of, which might eat into your wealth, right?
Right,
Now that is sorted,
right.
and you know you've saved something from that 35-35-30 rule, right? Then you take those steps into investing, right?
And just
yeah.
a question. So the investment will come from that last 30
Yes.
of the 35,
Correct.
30, right?
The 30 would be basically what you are saving at the end of the day.
At the end of it.
I mean, I would change the equation a little bit over here at second thought, right? So normally the equation is income minus expenses is equal to savings.
Right.
I would put it this way, right? Income minus savings is equal to expenses. Now you would ask me what is the difference? I would say that savings figure is something that you put away.
You decide upfront what
You
that's
upfront
saving.
decide how much that should be.
Instead of, it's uncontrolled right now if it
Yes.
is depending on your expenses.
Correct.
Rather you fix your savings and control your...
And how do you fix that savings? You would, when you get the salary for the earlier month itself, you put away that whatever X amount figure into another account or another bank account.
To delineate it basically.
Yeah, just it is out of bounds for you. You're not going to use that. It's as if you're given it away to some other person
Okay.
and you just left with that. जिससे घर का खर्चा चलेगा. X amount that you put away, right?
Yeah.
Now that is from where your investment amount or investable amount is going to come from.
Okay.
Right? Think about it this. Again, we talk about goals. You have set yourself a goal, like I said, say 2 crores.
Yeah.
At the end of say 10 years, I want to achieve like not 2 plus something, 2.5 just to be on the safer side.
Yeah.
And you are going to say that I am saving about 25,000 a month.
Yeah.
You can think about what is the equation going to be. You're going to save 25,000 every month ideally, say for a year, which is like 3 lakhs. Usme se you won't invest the whole of that. Out of 25, you might invest 20.
Okay.
ठीक है? So which is around 2.4 to 2.5 lakhs a month, a year.
Right.
That say over a period of 10 years of investing, right? With a certain percentage of return. That equation is going to give you eventually that big corpus, which might be more than 2.5, could be around that value.
Okay.
What are the factors involved in that? Rate of return,
Yeah.
how much money you're investing,
Yeah.
and for what time you're investing.
Right.
Think about which of these are in your control or which are not in your control. Rate of return is not in your control.
True.
Which are there in your control? How much you're going to put in
And
for how
duration.
long you're going to put in, right? So you will start off slowly. It's okay if you start off small, but start, right? Once you have covered for the other things from budgeting onwards.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10,000 a month, start.
Right.
Make a start. And don't worry about uncontrollables like the rate of return and everything.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I think this is where the rate of return, although we can't control it, but
Right.
I think there are various instruments available, and out of them, some of them are safe and will give you a pretty
Yes.
much X percentage. It's pretty much
Correct.
like guaranteed.
So
right?
even in investment, right, like the first 3 or 4 steps that I mentioned, even in investment, there's a certain journey that an investor goes through.
Okay.
A complete novice or someone who's not adequately equipped with that knowledge of investing, stocks and all of that, it would be very foolhardy to just put money in stocks.
Okay.
Instead of that, mutual funds, like those mutual funds sahi hai ad that you see on TV.
Yes.
That's a
yes.
very convenient vehicle. Safe vehicle, because that diversifies your money into multiple stocks and so on. Now, even in that, there are different categories of funds. Like within equity funds, there is those where a fund manager actively manages the fund and gives you like a certain higher rate of return. Where there are, and then there are passive funds where it follows Nifty. If Nifty grows like say 4%, even this grows like 4%, right? Where there's no active involvement of a fund manager.
Okay.
My suggestion is, if you're getting started with your investment journey, it doesn't matter in which instrument you're putting it in, right? You should start.
Yeah.
Define what you're going to put in every month. Have a certain sense of discipline that अगर 10,000 कट रहा है 10,000 कटना चाहिए हर महीने. It shouldn't be on your whims and fancies कि you know what, I don't think I'll be able to spare 10,000, मेरा ये खर्चा होने वाला है.
So you're talking about discipline.
Discipline. So you have clarity कि I want 2.5 crores by the end of say 10 years. ठीक है? That is clarity, complete clarity. You know.
So goal again.
Goal है. वो
again,
goal
you have
है.
to have a clear cut goal of the amount that you want after
You want
X number of years.
After X number of years. Then you work backwards. If this is going to be what my goal is going to be, and if this is going to be my runway, and then I can play around with my the money that I'm going to put in. Right? If I want to achieve that target even earlier, maybe I will have to sort of top up, say that 10 becomes 15. Right? Your income is not going to be the same throughout the 10 years. You'll get a promotion.
True.
There'll be increments, there'll be bonuses.
Yeah. In a happy flow of events,
yes,
that money is going to rise.
Correct.
Yes.
So in that scenario, you will also have to factor in that step up in your investments, like a certain 10%, 15%.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think we already know, right? Our parents know what are their goals from a child education perspective.
Right.
We called out what graduation would mean 10 years from now, what
Right.
post-graduation. So they have that number. Now it's
Correct.
about putting that equation together to arrive at that number.
Correct. So in this case, right, again, when I say 10,000, 15,000, whatever the figure be every month that you're putting away in a, say, a mutual fund, people are going to ask us, okay, mutual fund sahi hai, lekin kaun sa mutual fund?
Exactly. Yes.
So I would, for someone who's covered for all the downside risks and who's sufficiently funded in terms of saving, right, and channelizing those savings into investments, I would suggest going with that equity funds or a more equity heavy portfolio, right?
Okay.
The reason I say that is because if you're in a regular job, you always have some amount of money going into your PF, plus, you know, voluntarily upon you, whether you want to go to NPS and so on. It's a good instrument.
Exactly.
So that debt or fixed income portion is taken care of, right? It goes on automatically.
Yeah.
While you focus on the equity part of it, right? So that it gives you a certain upside in terms of the rate of return.
Yeah, so you're saying be more open and willing to invest in equity. Because it gives you higher returns, although there is a risk attached to it.
There is a risk, but then why are you worried about the risk when you have noted that you have 10 to 12 years of runway? Risk is basically going to be, or uncertainty is going to be a blocker for you if you want to pull out money tomorrow. But you're not going to do that anyways, because you've already figured out your budget, that rule of yours, right?
Yeah.
So in that ways, uncertainty or risk should be your companion in achieving those higher returns. Yeah, and then there are so many tools which are available in the public domain, right? Which can basically tell you or back calculate or support you in back calculating. Ki if you want an X crore of corpus at the end of say 10-12 years.
What is the amount you put in now?
Correct. So, and then you top up every year, right? So that at the end of that journey, right? I call that a journey. You know, based on the clarity, based on your discipline investing, and also the courage of conviction. It's also important, where you know that there'll be good times, bad times, but you still have to stick around in that journey.
And say,
you know, you will have accumulated so much. That figure could be much more than whatever you have, envisioned for yourself
as the end goal,
right?
Yeah.
So, and what it also does is, it ensures that you don't have to approach the bank or someone else, right? Because then
you are self-reliant.
You're self-reliant.
Yeah.
And what it also does is, you don't have to cut corners. You live the same lifestyle that you earlier lived, or maybe even upgrade.
Right.
And now, there's this concept of FIRE also, right? Which is doing the round.
Yeah, I have heard of it more and more, even when I go to work. So tell us what FIRE is, and I think that would be also touching upon how we lead a happy retirement. Let's say now the child has met all the milestones and they are doing well, but it's also time for parents to lead a happy life, the so-called last chapter of the life, and
Yeah.
potentially be happy grandparents.
I mean, retirement was always considered something where, you don't have to work after you work for 60, till the age of 60. You pretty much do nothing. You have grandkids, and that makes you a natural babysitter for that. That thought process is changing, and it has evolved, right? Where people are not attributing retirement to a certain age or a value, right? Um, because see, even if you look at our parents, especially our fathers, right? They worked till the age of 58 or 60.
Yes.
But one fine day they had to
Retire.
Call it withdrawal symptoms or something. They would feel the need to engage in something or the other, right?
Yeah,
It's
something
very
that
difficult for
stimulates
you
their
to
mind.
switch off after having chased deadlines or work
All your
related
life.
pressure and so on. And then it's like going from fifth gear to first gear, right? So that is something which is now coming into the realization in public's eyes, that there should be no age bound retirement, right? Or rather, there should be nothing called retirement, right? Where you do not have to work just for the sake of money. And that's where this FIRE movement has come in and caught up in a big way, right? Where people in their 40s are choosing to say that I have made up this much.
Yeah.
I basically know what my expenses were till thus far. What is going to be my expenses after this? I may or may not have a kid, but I'm sorted for the next foreseeable future. I will not work or do a job which I don't like. Instead, I'll do something which I am very passionate about, which I will do at the convenience of my time and my place. I don't want to change cities. I don't want to do this whole hustling. If it is a hustle, it's a hustle which I love, right? Rather than something where someone tells me what to do.
You're
Right?
picking your
Yeah.
hassles. So basically, you're saying that through this, you're able to secure your financial position so
Yes.
well that
Yeah.
you're choosing to retire early.
Correct. So that's where people define the financial independence first through a number. They reverse calculate and they come up with a financial independence number.
Okay.
It could be 4 crores, 5 crores, whatever be, based on their expenses and what their expected or guided expenses could be.
Okay.
Because inflation is also a big thing. Once they've hit that number, they take it a bit slow in their lives.
So, FIRE. FI is
FI stands
financial.
for financial independence.
Okay.
RE is for retire early. But retire early is again, a lot of people question the FIRE movement, saying ki, okay, so if you're going to retire at 45, what are you going to do after 45?
You could write a book. You could be a vlogger. You could be anything you want.
So now there are views and counter views on both sides of the argument, right? I mean, what people say is true. If you're going to retire early, say at 45, 46, whatever, you're not going to sit at home, binge watch Netflix all day. so now, and no one can do that, especially a person who's been
Working
working
actively.
throughout or who's reached that number. So
Right.
for her or him, they would pretty much have thought about something that they would love to do or would do at the convenience of their time and place, right? Well, also ensuring that they got enough time to spend with the family, which is a big thing,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like they say, I mean, money cannot buy you happiness, right? But money definitely buys you the ingredient for happiness in this case, right?
Well said. Well
Right?
said.
Like, so, I mean, if you have like a crore coming tomorrow and you put it in the bank, you look at it, you'll feel happy for a day or two, but after that, it gets watered down. Whereas you put that 1 crore to work and make it 5,
Yeah.
you know you're going to retire much early
Right.
and spend
So
that
this
maximum
is-
time with your daughter or son. So,
True. True. And
Right.
I think this is what they say, right? The money works for itself
For
to make
itself.
more money.
yeah, I mean, this is like a good topic for a whole new podcast, right? On how it takes like a whole lot of time and effort to make your first crore, and then after
How
that,
How fast the next
it's
few
a
crores.
hockey stick jump
Okay.
when you want to do 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 or whatever.
Right.
The thing is, it should not be even a fire. It should be FIDA, do anything. Financial independence, do anything. It should
Do
be FIDA, not
anything.
fire.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a good thought.
And
So
then there is-
basically, you're saying that once you know your FI number
Yeah.
and you're able to achieve it, you can do anything or choose to step down from your
Yes.
corporate job at any age if you
Right.
have your FI sorted.
Yeah, I mean, I know of a lot of these people who have reached what they thought was their financial independence number after working for a considerable number of years. Maybe they've chosen to step down even before they've turned 50, say in their mid 40s, and spend time focusing
Yeah,
on
more meaningful in
on their
ways they think
child,
are more meaningful to them.
on the development needs of the children whenever they are at that age, right?
Right.
So the needs of the child, say a 15-year-old, 18-year-old, would be much different.
And you're present for
Yeah,
them,
you're present for
basically.
them when they're teenagers and so on.
Right.
And I mean, that's a good thing to have, right? The luxury of time.
Yeah,
Right? No
yeah.
one talks about it.
Yes.
So again, this brings us back to that same topic, right? A lot of people work, but when you ask them what is that number which you feel you would be happy earning, or which you feel would make you sorted for the rest of your life, people struggle to come up with that number, right? It's like running a race again without a finishing line in place. You're just running around.
So I'm actually very happy that there is a possibility to retire early in life, to spend time the way
Right.
we want. So it's almost like if you get the numbers right, you have the luxury of making a choice, because right now we are
Yeah.
not at that place. We went into work thinking that we will continue to work till the age of 58 or 60, but it's so nice to know that if you have your plan and the FI, the financial independence number right, and your investment plan right, it is possible to choose to retire early.
Yeah, I mean, there will be those who will argue with you saying that life is far different from a spreadsheet. Right? Who'll say that, okay, these numbers look very good and fancy on a spreadsheet, but have you thought about those things in life? I'm like, see, you're basically looking at mitigating or covering for those downsides which might destroy your wealth, right? Like an unfortunate incident which takes away your job, or that unexpected hospitalization of a dear one.
Yeah.
Once you've covered for all of that and you know pretty much where your money is going, I don't think there's anything that stops you from saving up and generating that alpha for your needs, as well as for your, importantly, for your kids, right? For your next generation. And then
Right.
the journey doesn't stop there, right? You have the luxury of time. You know which other value adds you need to spend, or those experiences you need to spend on, right? Without compromising on your lifestyle, upgrading it to next level. And then basically being custodian for that wealth, passing on that knowledge to your children.
Right.
I certainly feel that financial knowledge should be part of the curriculum, right? In those stages that we mentioned, be it school, be it graduation, and so on.
Absolutely.
So that it makes children also more aware, be it Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whatever, right?
Gen Beta
Gen
is
Beta,
now
yes.
born.
So I think this awareness is something which is very crucial and
Yeah.
has to be passed on from generation to generation, so
yeah.
that not just they learn from the good part, right? Even from the mistakes that the earlier generation makes. Like we
True.
talk about our parents, the good part as well as the bad part, or other
We learn from
the
each
unpleasant part,
generation.
and we
Yeah,
learn, and then that helps in refining the knowledge as well as the actions that go into our life and well-being.
Right.
So
right.
yeah.
Good. So thanks, Vishy. I think it was personally very informative for me.
Sure.
And I also hope that everyone watching this podcast also finds this useful when you are planning your finances. Because you walked us from things to consider from the time a baby is born
Right.
till they finish graduation, as well as our own retirement.
Right.
So, any final notes from you before we close this?
I honestly didn't realize how time flew by, right? When you get into these sort of deep dives, these
Yes.
very engaging conversations, especially related to children, I
Yes.
think parenthood itself is like a phase which is both challenging and enjoyable. You need to cherish
True.
those memories um, and immerse in those because children grow up fast. I mean,
Yeah,
accepted it.
yeah.
Children grow up big, and even before you realize, they are through primary school, secondary school, and grad, and so on.
And
And that's when you feel that you need. I should have spent so much time with my child, and that's where the whole concept of time, money value comes into the picture, right?
yes.
But there are some things which are absolute imperatives in life. If you're financially sound, and when I say financially sound, you don't have to be a finance guru to, if you plan well for things in advance, I
Yeah.
think parenthood and the phase after that is going to be pretty much smooth.
True.
If you don't plan but you are looking at growing your family, then you have a problem,
Yeah.
right? And like all things in life, right, compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. People talk about wealth compounding,
Yeah.
but I would say wealth compounding, health compounding is important. Compounding your health, right? Like staying fitter, which also requires time.
Correct.
Compounding your knowledge. I encourage people to read up. In those times where you scroll through your reels, it's important that you read up also, right? As a
Yeah.
substitute to
Instead
what
of
do we-
doom scrolling,
yeah, you read up
upskill.
something,
Yeah,
upskill.
yeah.
At the same time, also compound your relationships, right? Make sure that you, wherever you are, be it in workplace, in personal life, ensure that your relationships are maintained, right?
Yeah.
So combination of knowledge, relationships, time, health, money, right? All of
Yeah.
this should help you tide through um, whatever comes in life and whatever life throws at you.
True, true, true.
Right.
No, thanks. Wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
insights. I personally enjoyed this conversation, and I think we already identified a few more topics which we could potentially bring to this podcast. And I think all of these things tie into the well being of an individual and a family.
Right.
We hear more and more instances of people suffering due to chronic stress which comes
Yeah.
from all of these uncertainties and risk.
Right.
But if you have your fundas right,
Yes.
then I think that we are better equipped to manage those uncertainties, or let's say
Sure.
unforeseen or unprecedented circumstances.
Yes.
So thank you very, very much
Sure.
for being
Pleasure.
the first guest of this podcast.
Pleasure is all mine. Thanks. I'm happy and glad if this has helped people take the baby steps in planning.
True.
Pun intended.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.